I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here I am, staring at the messy pieces of my life scattered all around me. It all started about 6 months ago when I had that stroke. Yeah, I know, life throws punches, and sometimes you just have to take them. I was in the hospital for what felt like forever, hooked up to machines, heavily medicated, lying there helpless, barely able to move or speak properly. My wife, Lisa, she was by my side most of the time, charming everyone with her fake concern, but I started noticing little things that didn't add up. She'd get phone calls and leave the room quickly, whispering into her phone like she was hiding something. She'd get defensive if I asked questions, brush it off with a laugh or a dismissive. "It's just work, relax." But I sensed something was wrong. I was trapped in that hospital bed, weak and vulnerable, and it felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. During those long, drugged-out days, I thought about everything: our marriage, my health, whether I'd ever get out of this mess. But mostly, I wondered if Lisa was really the woman I thought she was. She seemed more interested in her phone than in me, laughing at something, probably with her friends or whoever she was screwing around with. She told me she loved me, but I couldn't shake this gnawing feeling that she was hiding something, maybe someone. I wanted to believe she was faithful, but with the way she was acting, especially in those early days after my stroke, I knew deep down that something was off. One night I was alone in my room, delirious from the meds, when I saw a text pop up on her phone, something about meeting up later, a sneaky little message from some nurse. I didn't think much of it at first, but the way she looked at the phone afterward, the nervous twitch in her eye, it was enough to make my stomach drop. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying everything in my head. Was she really cheating on me? Was all this fake concern, all those "I love yous," just a lie? I had to keep it together, but inside, I was boiling with rage and hurt. I told myself I'd wait until I got out of here, and then find out the truth. But things only got messier from there. I started noticing other signs: her disappearing acts, the way she'd avoid my gaze, the sudden trips to the pharmacy that coincided with her phone being unusually busy. She'd come home late, smelling different, acting defensive if I asked where she'd been. She'd lie about small things, brush me off, and I could see the guilt in her eyes when she thought I wasn't looking. It was all too clear. I was being played. She'd been sleeping with that nurse caring for me after my stroke. I was sure of it. The evidence wasn't overwhelming yet, but enough for me to feel it in my bones. I felt betrayed on every level: physically, emotionally, and morally. How could she do this to me when I was so vulnerable? I knew I had to confront her sooner or later, but I was afraid of what I'd find. I was afraid of losing her, of losing my marriage, but I was even more afraid of living with this secret, knowing she was out there cheating on me behind my back. The worst part: she's a bitch about everything. Always quick with a lie, always trying to spin her way out of trouble. That's her style: dodge, deny, and manipulate. But I was done playing nice. I decided I'd gather enough evidence to confront her properly. I wanted to catch her in the act, show her I knew what she'd been up to. I was hurt, yes, but also angry, furious, really. I'd never imagined my life turning into this twisted drama, but here I was, about to blow the lid off her little secret. So after a few more days of feeling like a prisoner in my own body, I finally got my chance. One evening I was alone in the hospital room, still weak but alert enough to notice things that I'd missed before. I had my phone hidden under the pillow, just to keep an eye on her. Lisa had gone out for what she said was a quick trip to get some groceries. But I knew better. The way she hurried out, clutching her purse tightly, told me she wasn't just running errands. While she was gone, I started digging through her messages. I'd already seen enough clues: her nervous glances, her sudden trips, the late-night calls. But now I wanted concrete proof. I scrolled through her texts, and that's when I saw it: the messages with the nurse. Her name was Carla. They weren't just friendly exchanges, they were loaded with flirtation, innuendos, and outright sexting. I couldn't believe my eyes. Carla was practically begging Lisa to meet up, talking about how hot she looked in her nurse uniform and how she needed some relief. Lisa responded with a nasty smiley, saying she couldn't wait to see her. My stomach turned. It was like getting punched in the gut all over again. I felt numb. The betrayal hit me harder than the stroke ever did. All those times I was lying there helpless and she was out there fucking someone else. I didn't think I'd ever feel this kind of pain, anger, humiliation, heartbreak all mixed together. It was like I'd been stabbed and burned at the same time. I stared at the screen, reading the lies, the teasing, the promises of secrecy. She was planning a meetup with her nurse while I was lying there, completely vulnerable. I didn't want to act impulsively, but I knew I had to do something. I waited until she returned, and when she did, I was sitting upright in the bed, my face cold and serious. She smirked when she saw me, trying to brush it off like I was just overthinking again. I looked her right in the eyes and asked, "So, what was that about Carla, huh? Were you planning on seeing her tonight?" She froze for a second, then laughed, that bitchy little laugh she always uses when she's trying to dismiss something serious. "Oh, that. Just some stupid chat, nothing important. You're imagining things as usual." I couldn't hold back anymore. I told her I saw everything, that I knew about Carla, about the sex, about her cheating. Her face twisted into a mask of anger, denial, and contempt. She spat back. "You're crazy. You're always accusing me of stuff I didn't do. You think I have time for a fucking nurse when I'm busy taking care of your sorry ass?" That's when I snapped. I told her I'd had enough of her lies, her games, her fake concern. I told her I knew she'd been cheating on me for months, maybe longer, and I was sick of pretending everything was okay. She rolled her eyes and said I was just paranoid, that I was delusional on all those meds, and that I was making it all up in my head. But I could see the guilt in her eyes, and I'd made up my mind. I wasn't going to sit around and be her fool anymore. The woman I loved, the one I married, had become a stranger, the kind of stranger who slept with my nurse while I was lying there helpless. The grief and rage hit me hard. I wanted to scream, to shout, but all I could do was sit there, shaking, feeling completely betrayed and broken. That night, I decided I needed to plan my next move carefully. I couldn't just blow up everything in anger and then regret it later. But I knew one thing: I wasn't going to let her lie her way out this time. I had the evidence, and I was ready to confront her face to face. I didn't know what would come next, but I knew that when I finally did confront her, it would be the last time I'd let her fool me. I had to find a way to get out of this mess, even if it meant ending everything with her. The betrayal had cut too deep, and I was done being the fool in my own life. The next few days felt like walking on thin ice. I was still weak but determined. I had to figure out my next steps. I couldn't stay passive anymore, not after seeing those messages, not after discovering how deep her lies went. Lisa pretended everything was fine, of course. She acted like I was just overreacting, like I was imagining things again, trying to dismiss my concerns. But I knew better now. I had the proof, and I wasn't going to let her gaslight me into believing I was crazy. That evening, I managed to get my hands on her phone when she went to the bathroom. I didn't want to snoop, but I was desperate for more proof. I scrolled through her recent texts and saw more evidence, more flirtatious messages with Carla, plans to meet up again, even photos of Lisa in her nurse uniform that she had sent her. I felt my stomach twist. This wasn't just a fling. It was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying to my face for months. I was seething. I knew I had to confront her again, but I also knew I couldn't do it here, not in this fragile state. I made up my mind. I'd wait until I got out of the hospital. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I wasn't some clueless idiot anymore. And when I finally did confront her, I promised myself I wouldn't hold back. I'd tell her exactly what I thought, how betrayed I felt, and what I was going to do about it. That night, I watched her sleep from my hospital bed, her chest rising and falling, her face relaxed in that false calm she always put on when she was hiding something. I couldn't help but feel a flood of emotions: anger, sadness, disgust. How could she do this? How could she cheat on me, especially after everything I'd been through? I'd given her my trust, my loyalty, my entire life, and she'd thrown it all away for some quick sex with Carla. The thought made me want to scream, but I kept it inside. The following morning, I finally decided to act. I told the nurse I needed to make a phone call, and I called a friend I trusted. I told him everything about Lisa, about Carla, about her affair. I didn't hold back. I needed someone to know, to understand just how deep this betrayal was. My friend advised me on what to do next, how to gather more evidence, how to confront her without making things worse. He said I had to be smart, calm, and methodical. I was already planning my move. I decided I'd wait until I was discharged, then I'd set a trap. I'd invite her over, pretend everything was fine, and catch her in the act. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of catching me off guard. I wanted her to see that I knew everything, that I wasn't some gullible fool anymore. I'd call her bluff, expose her lies, and finally get closure. The thought of finally ending this sick charade gave me a strange sense of relief, mixed with a lot of pain. But at the same time, I was scared. Scared of how she'd react, scared of what I'd do if she denied everything, scared of losing the only person I thought I could trust. That little voice in my head kept saying, "Is this really the end? Or just another chapter in a nightmare I can't wake up from?" Either way, I knew one thing for sure: things would never be the same. My marriage was broken beyond repair, and I had to decide whether I'd fight to fix it or walk away. Either way, the betrayal had changed me forever, and I was trying to brace myself for whatever was coming next. I spent the next couple of days trying to piece everything together. I knew I was close to finally catching her in the act, but I had to be careful. Lisa was the type to spin stories, deny everything, and then charm her way out of trouble. I couldn't let her do that again. I had the evidence, but I needed her to walk right into my trap completely unaware. I decided to invite her over once I was discharged, pretending everything was normal just like before. I wanted her comfortable, relaxed, thinking she had the advantage. That's when I'd strike. The day finally came. I was out of the hospital, still weak but determined. I called her, told her I'd like her to come over for dinner. She responded with that fake sweetness she always had. "Sure, honey, I'll be there around 6. I knew she'd show up, probably expecting everything to be fine. I'd set my plan in motion. I prepared everything so that I'd catch her red-handed. When she arrived, she was her usual bitchy self, smirking, flipping her hair, acting like she was the queen of the house. I kept my cool, played the perfect husband, but inside I was raging. We sat down for dinner and I noticed her phone kept buzzing, notifications popping up. I pretended not to notice but kept my eyes on her. After a while I excused myself to get some drinks and I quickly checked her phone again. There it was, more messages with Carla, plans to meet up that night. The proof I needed was there, clear as day. I decided to confront her right then and there. I grabbed her phone, held it out in front of her and said, "Lisa, I know about Carla. I know what you've been doing. All those texts, those plans. You thought you could lie your way out of it, but I've seen everything." Her face twisted into a look of pure contempt. She rolled her eyes and scoffed, "Oh, please. You're losing your mind, babe. You're so damn paranoid. Do you honestly think I'd cheat on you after everything?" I looked her in the eyes, my voice cold and steady. "You've been screwing her, haven't you? While I've been lying here helpless, you've been out fucking your nurse. You think I do know? You think I'm stupid?" She started to get defensive, her voice rising. "You're insane. You're just jealous and you're sick. You're always accusing me of stuff I didn't do. Maybe it's you who's got the problem, not me." I snapped. "No more lies, no more bullshit. I know everything. You've been cheating on me with Carla for months. I saw the sex, the plans, the photos. You're a fucking liar, Lisa. You think you're so clever hiding behind your lies, but I'm done. I'm done being your fool." The anger I'd been holding in finally burst out, and I saw her eyes widen with shock and fury. She tried to deny it, of course. Said I was crazy, that I was imagining things, that she loved me and never cheated. But I wasn't buying it. I told her I had enough, that I knew she'd been sleeping with Carla and that I was ready to end this chapter. Her face twisted into a sneer and she spat, "You really think I'd throw away everything for some nurse? You're pathetic." That was the last straw. I realized she was just trying to save herself, to spin it all around and make me look like the crazy one. I told her she needed to leave, that I didn't want her near me anymore, not after what I'd found out. She packed her bag, still insisting she was innocent, still trying to manipulate me into doubting myself. But I wasn't swayed. I knew the truth now, and I was finally ready to face it. The woman I married was a liar, a cheat, and she'd been playing me for months. The betrayal cut so deep I wondered if I'd ever heal from it. But I knew one thing: my life was about to change forever, and I wasn't going to let her drag me down with her lies anymore. After she left, I sat in that empty house, feeling like my entire world had shattered. It was a strange mix of relief and heartbreak. Relief because I finally knew the truth, heartbreak because I'd lost the woman I thought I married. I kept replaying everything she said during her frantic packing, her desperate attempts to cling to her lies, but I wasn't buying it anymore. The evidence was too clear. Carla's sexts, her sneaky plans, her nervous glances when she thought I wasn't looking, everything pointed to one thing. She had been cheating on me for months. The next few days were a blur of emotion. I was furious, devastated, and honestly pretty numb. I'd always thought we had a good marriage, a strong bond. Turns out I was blind. She'd been sneaking around behind my back, destroying everything we built. I felt stupid for trusting her so much, for thinking I could get through this without losing myself. But at the same time, I knew I'd be okay. I'd survived worse, and I'd get through this too. I decided I wasn't going to let her control the narrative anymore. I had the proof, and I was going to make sure everyone knew what she really was if I had to. I reached out to a friend, a guy I'd known for years, and told him everything. He listened patiently, then offered some advice that I knew I needed to hear. You're better off without her. Don't let her spin this. You've got to take control now, dump her on her ass and move on. No more playing the fool. That's what I needed, to take back my power, to stop feeling like a victim. I also knew I had to deal with my own feelings first. I was angry, yes, but I was also hurt. Deep down, I kept asking myself how I could have missed the signs, how I could have trusted someone so completely, only to find out she'd been betraying me. It was a lot to process. I spent nights lying awake, questioning everything, trying to make sense of the betrayal. But I also realized I couldn't keep living in denial. I had to face the truth head-on and decide what I wanted next. So I made a plan. I was going to file for divorce, clean and simple. No drama, no games. Just end it and move forward. I knew I'd be better off without her, even if it hurt like hell now. I also made up my mind to focus on myself, get stronger, heal, and rebuild my life. I didn't want to be the guy who got cheated on and curled up in a corner. I wanted dignity, respect, and to finally take control of what's left of my shattered world. Looking back, I think the worst part wasn't even the cheating. It was the betrayal of trust, the sense that someone I loved could lie to my face and sleep with someone else while I was vulnerable. It made me realize how fragile everything really is. I learned that even the people closest to you can hide dark secrets, that appearances are often deceiving, and that you have to be prepared to face harsh truths if you want to survive. I'm still hurting, still trying to piece myself back together, but I know I'll come out of this stronger. And honestly, my advice for anyone who finds themselves in my shoes: trust your gut and pay attention to the signs. Don't ignore the small things, because eventually they add up. When someone betrays you, it's not just about the affair. It's about the betrayal of everything you believed in. Cut your losses and don't be afraid to walk away. You deserve better, even if it doesn't feel like it now. You've got to put yourself first, because nobody else will do it for you. That's what I'm trying to do now: rebuild, move on, and never let someone's lies destroy me again. So here I am, months after everything fell apart. Honestly, I've felt a roller coaster of emotions: anger, sadness, relief, and now a strange sense of peace. I still think about her sometimes, but it's not as painful as it used to be. I've learned a lot from this nightmare. Trust is fragile and it can be broken in an instant. But I also learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I survived the betrayal of someone I loved, and I'm still standing. I had to cut ties completely. I moved out of the house, started fresh somewhere new, and focused on healing. I've gone to therapy, worked on rebuilding my confidence, and rediscovered what makes me happy. I realized that I don't need someone like her in my life, someone who would betray me so callously. I'm better off alone than with someone who doesn't respect the vows we took. It's been hard, no doubt, but I know I made the right decision. Looking back, I see how naive I was to trust blindly, but I also see what's important now: self-respect and understanding that sometimes love isn't enough. People change, situations change, and sometimes you just have to accept that some relationships aren't meant to be. I've come to terms with the fact that I was blindsided, but I refuse to let that define me. Instead, I choose to focus on moving forward, learning from the pain, and becoming a better version of myself. To anyone out there who's going through something similar, trust your instincts. Don't ignore the signs. If someone is lying, hiding, or acting suspicious, pay attention. Your gut knows more than you think. And if you find out someone you love has been cheating on you, remember, you're not alone. It hurts like hell, but you will survive. You will heal. And eventually, you'll realize that surviving this is the first step to finding happiness again. I won't pretend I'm over it all yet, but I know I will be. Time is a great healer, and I've started to rebuild my life on my own terms. I've learned to value myself more than ever before, if there's one thing this nightmare has taught me, it's that no matter how deep the betrayal, you have the power to move on and create a better future. You just have to be willing to face the truth, accept it, and let go of the past. That's where I am now, finally free from her lies, ready to embrace whatever comes next.